Les deux.
Alors, oui, François, comme vous le disiez, donc, on m'a demandé de vous parler un petit peu du client hippodrome. Quel est-il? Parce que donc, une de mes missions, c'est de faire venir, de remplir les tribunes sur notre réseau hippodrome. Il y a un réseau PMU, mais il ne faut pas l'oublier, il y a un réseau hippodrome qui est important. Alors, donc, comment élargir la cible de la clientèle? D'abord, je vais vous parler 2 secondes du produit. Le produit, quel est le produit dont on fait de la promotion? Le produit, c'est les courses. Et quel est le territoire? Après avoir beaucoup réfléchi, sommes-nous exclusivement un sport? Sommes-nous un jeu? À la question au trot, on s'est dit, on est surtout, quand on parle hippodrome, d'un spectacle. On peut être un spectacle plus ou moins sportif, mais on s'installe résolument sur ce positionnement, sur ce territoire. Et puis, la promesse, c'est l'expérience. Hein, c'est très à la mode, c'est un mot très, très utilisé actuellement dans toutes les campagnes de pub, pour beaucoup de produits. L'expérience hippodrome, l'expérience nocturne, l'expérience course-spectacle. C'est une promesse que nous faisons à nos clients. Ils vont vivre quelque chose de particulier. Je vais juste vous montrer un petit film qui parle un petit peu d'expérience. Un petit film général qui parle un petit peu de l'expérience en montrant des belles images, l'expérience hippodrome. Il s'agit de l'hippodrome de Vincennes, hippodrome de Paris. Émotion du Paris, on ne peut pas parler là. Voilà, l'hippodrome, c'est tout un univers, hein, un champ de course. C'est pas simplement des chevaux, c'est une ambiance, c'est la convivialité. C'est tout ça qu'on essaie, c'est la découverte d'un monde avec donc différents produits qu'on essaie de décliner, la visite des écuries, voilà, la fièvre, l'ambiance. Alors, un mot donc sur le client hippodrome. Alors, effectivement, il est loin d'être unique. C'est pourquoi nous nous adaptons en fonction des cibles. Donc, on concocte des offres parieurs turfistes, des offres grand public, des offres plus particulièrement pour les familles et pour les enfants, des offres identitaires, des offres plus particulièrement destinées aux jeunes, des offres entreprises, marques pour les clubs et associations, des offres plus spécifiques pour les femmes, et puis des offres aussi pour les passionnés de sport. Donc, comme je le disais, il est multiple. Donc, on segmente en fonction du calendrier, en fonction des événements, on s'adresse à telle ou telle cible. En ce qui concerne l'offre parieur turfiste, alors voilà, je vous ai simplement fait un petit cahier d'images. Voilà, donc là, on joue sur des visuels différents avec une petite touche d'humour pour parler à nos turfistes en déployant sur place tout un dispositif. On leur offre des paris, on leur donne 2 € de paris, on leur propose de faire une course de roadcar sur la piste, on leur fait rencontrer les professionnels, on leur donne du prono d'experts. Enfin bref, on a une offre très dirigée pour déjà nos clients, mais pour leur faire plaisir. C'est la moindre des choses. Offre grand public. Donc nous sommes à Paris, il y a beaucoup de concurrence, énormément de concurrence. Donc il faut qu'on soit imaginatif, il faut qu'on se renouvelle. Très souvent, on a des spectacles tous les dimanches qui se suivent en plein hiver, il fait froid. On a en concurrence les fêtes de Noël. Enfin voilà, donc il faut vraiment déployer des trésors d'imagination pour essayer de faire que les Parisiens viennent nous voir à Vincennes. Donc on développe des thématiques, ce qu'on appelle le cheval et le cinéma, le cheval et le western. On fait des opérations aussi caritatives, bien sûr. des passerelles avec la chaîne. Sur des grands prix, on ajoute toujours des dimensions voilà, très grand public. Sur le Grand Prix du Président, on y ajoute toujours une dimension aussi spectacle équestre. Voilà, sur les Grands Prix de Paris. On fait aussi dans le culturel avec des expos. On a fait une jolie expo Robert Doisneau à l'occasion de ses 100 ans à Vincennes, toujours avec des passerelles avec le cheval, bien sûr. Alors, offre famille, même chose, on a fait un petit portfolio. Alors là, voilà, donc là, on est réellement dans la famille avec les enfants, donc on se rapproche des univers, on fait... Voilà, toujours dans le ludique, avec des offres, bien sûr, dont je ne vais pas vous détailler, mais toujours les baptêmes de poney, enfin les petites choses, les partenariats, beaucoup de partenariats. Il y a beaucoup d'enfants qui rêvent aussi de faire de leur métier le cheval, donc le vétérinaire. Donc on fait aussi des dimanches spéciales information, mais d'une façon ludique. Voilà, donc toutes ces approches un petit peu qui parlent et qui font venir, effectivement, qui nous remplissent les tribunes. Offre identitaire, alors ça c'est quelque chose aussi qu'on développe, qui fonctionne bien. Alors chez nous, effectivement, l'opération qui fonctionne le mieux depuis très longtemps, parce qu'on va faire la 19e édition, c'est une soirée tropicale. Là, on fait venir toutes les communautés de Paris, de la région parisienne, et on met donc l'hippodrome à leur couleur avec un village artisanal, avec une programmation qui leur est dédiée. Et là, bon, carton plein tous les ans. Et en plus, ce sont effectivement très souvent des joueurs. Mais pas seulement, on cible aussi les Bretons. De temps en temps, on fait venir les Bretons à Vincennes. Voilà, on fait une journée spéciale Bretagne. Mais les Portugais, depuis l'année dernière, c'est une opération qu'on va renouveler. On s'est aperçu qu'il y a une très grosse communauté de Portugais qui sont très rarement mis à l'honneur en Île-de-France. Donc, on a fait une première édition. On va la renouveler, d'ailleurs, en septembre. Offre Japon, week-end Japon. Là, on a surfé un petit peu sur toute la mode du thé, de la culture sushi. Enfin, voilà, on s'approche au plus près de l'actualité, en fin de compte, pour trouver des angles pour se renouveler. Offre jeune, là on a installé un produit qui s'appelle les afterwork. Donc ça, c'est un produit qui existe un peu partout, je pense, dans le monde. C'est destiné à des gens qui ne veulent pas prendre trop de temps, qui veulent quand même se coucher relativement tôt, mais qui veulent faire la fête après leur travail. Donc là, on a une offre packagée qui s'appelle l'afterwork hippodrome. On a aménagé, parce que le confort, j'en ai pas parlé, le confort sur un champ de course, c'est très important. On se doit aussi de se moderniser et de répondre aux demandes actuelles. Donc là, une coupe de bulles offerte, une visite aux écuries, une photo en tenue de jockey. Et le plan de communication est très faible, c'est-à-dire qu'il n'y a pas d'investissement réel, c'est juste un investissement temps et homme, puisque ça fonctionne surtout par les réseaux sociaux, l'infiltration Internet. L'offre entreprise, c'est l'offre plus particulièrement... On a la chance à Vincennes d'avoir des restaurants panoramiques, une grande capacité avec 2000 couverts. Donc il y a des offres entreprises avec des packages. Voilà, que la visite privée avec des menus assez sophistiqués, avec la location d'espace. Bon, ça, je crois aussi que ça fonctionne certainement sur beaucoup de vos champs de course. Ça, c'est une clientèle importante, les entreprises. Nous, on reçoit à Vincennes à peu près 80 000 personnes en entreprise par an. L'offre femmes, donc ça, on développe ça parce qu'on sait que les femmes, bon, on nous explique qu'on a 40% de clients de femmes, mais il en reste beaucoup encore à séduire. Donc, on fait des soirées cavalières. On a un nouveau personnage qui s'appelle la trotteuse. Voilà, donc on fait une journée des femmes. On a des nouveaux outils, le Girly Guide. On parle aux filles avec le langage des filles. Voilà, et puis on a des opérations de séduction. Même chose par le prisme de la mode. Donc là, on se rapproche de créateurs de mode pour faire des t-shirts avec des grandes signatures, avec Lacroix, avec Yves Saint Laurent. Voilà. Le prochain créateur sera Jean-Paul Gaultier. On est assez fiers. Voilà, l'offre passionnée de sport aussi. Donc on est toujours dans l'offre multiple. Hein. Voilà, on a beaucoup de cibles, beaucoup de clientèle. Donc là, on se rapproche des fois des planètes sportives. On fait foot et course. Le foot est le sport le plus populaire en France, comme partout. Donc on fait venir des ambassadeurs footeux à qui on fait rencontrer nos drivers. Et ça permet de croiser les univers et puis d'avoir des retombées médias importantes. On l'a fait aussi avec le rugby, pendant de nombreuses années, avec le Stade français Paris. Voilà, et pour le foot aussi, on va recevoir, d'ailleurs pas plus tard que mardi 18, la Fédération française de foot, et ce sera toute l'équipe féminine qui va venir à Vincennes, s'initier à l'expérience du trotting. Elles vont faire des courses de roadcar et rencontrer donc la profession, les drivers. Alors, concernant les nouveaux outils, pourquoi des nouveaux outils ? Parce qu'on se doit aujourd'hui d'avoir une offre globale, ce qu'on appelle une offre 360. Alors, il y a donc pourquoi faire? Pour recruter, hein, pour trouver des nouveaux clients, parce qu'effectivement, c'est une nécessité aussi pour nous. On a une clientèle vieillissante et donc on se doit de la renouveler. Alors, il y a les outils traditionnels, ce qu'on appelle donc le offline, que vous connaissez tous. C'est-à-dire, je veux faire connaître mon opération, j'édite une affiche, un flyer, je fais une insertion en presse, j'achète de l'espace, je fais un spot radio, de l'affichage, un spot télé. Ça reste quand même ce qu'on appelle un coût contact pour aller chercher un client qui est quand même relativement élevé. Donc, pour essayer de recruter malin, il vaut mieux aller sur Internet et aller sur le online. Donc, d'où, effectivement, on essaye un petit peu de se professionnaliser et puis d'avoir une entité forte. Je rappelle que le TRO, on n'est pas une marque grand public, on est une marque institutionnelle, contrairement donc au PMU, qui est une marque grand public, ou à Equidia. Donc, déjà, notre notoriété est faible. Donc, nous, on est surtout connus par ou nos grands prix ou certains chevaux. Une de nos forces, c'est effectivement sa notoriété de nos chevaux. Donc, on a rangé tous les mini-sites qui traînaient un petit peu. Voilà, Cheval Français, le site international. On a fait un grand portail sur Internet qui s'appelle letro.com. Et là, on a rangé un petit peu tous nos sites. Juste deux chiffres, il y a donc un peu plus de 2 273 000 pages vues par mois et 143 000 visiteurs uniques par mois sur le portail du TRO. Donc le TRO digital. Alors rapidement, le TRO digital, voilà, je vais vous en parler dans le détail. Il y a Facebook, il y a des applis Facebook, il y a Twitter, là, il y a Pinterest, l'appli le TRO, il y a le blog de la trotteuse tout récemment, il y a la galerie de Robert, les e-boutiques, il y a le club des supporters, il y a la newsletter bien sûr, et il y a la web TV. Alors rapidement, Facebook, le TRO, ça c'est une page, donc vous connaissez tous Facebook, c'était effectivement quelque chose d'important pour nous le TRO. D'abord ça réunit en général des communautés de passionnés, donc le TRO, les courses, hein, c'est un vrai vivier. Donc aujourd'hui, depuis l'ouverture de la page, maintenant on a plus de 83 713 fans, avec un bon taux d'engagement puisqu'il est de 1,2. Donc là, pourquoi une page Facebook? Pour fédérer, pour communiquer, pour être dans les outils d'aujourd'hui. Alors, on développe pour recruter des fans et pour animer notre communauté des applis, des jeux concours sur Facebook. On a fait un concours qui s'appelle Rêve le TRO. Voilà, tu as un rêve, poste-le et le TRO va peut-être le réaliser. Et puis, il y en a un autre une nouvelle appli qui va sortir aussi. Il n'y a pas photo, parce qu'en fait, il n'y a pas photo, c'est issu du monde des courses. On a appris ça tout récemment, donc on va surfer là-dessus. Il n'y a pas photo. Alors, on a un petit Twitter aussi. Alors, le petit Twitter, il existe, on a pris la case, mais il fonctionne avec petitement. Il a 1975 abonnés. La difficulté, il faudrait que c'est incarné, le tweet. Donc, on peut avoir une page, on a une page Facebook, le TRO, c'est le TRO, mais le tweet, c'est personnalisé. Donc, pour l'instant, à ce jour, on n'a personne qui veut tweeter. Peut-être Guillaume, enfin, il n'a pas le temps. Voilà, parce que les tweets qui intéressent, c'est les tweets sportifs, hein, bien sûr. C'est pas un outil promotionnel, c'est un outil d'information, le tweet. Et puis, on a maintenant un nouvel espace qui s'appelle Pinterest, le TRO. Ça, ça s'adresse aussi, c'est en complément de la page Facebook. C'est une galerie, vous savez, c'est des personnes qui collectionnent des choses qu'ils aiment. Donc, nous, bien sûr, on est dans l'univers du cheval. Donc, je suis fan de TRO, je vais ouvrir un espace Pinterest et je vais accrocher sur mon mur, je vais piner l'arrivée de telle course, mon cheval dans son box, ma grand-mère qui est en train de brosser l'âne, voilà. Donc, je vais faire mon espace, c'est un album photo en fin de compte, sur Internet. Alors bien sûr, il y a l'appli, ça c'est plus destiné effectivement aux smartphones et aux tablettes. L'appli le TRO, alors c'est déjà plus sérieux, donc ça concerne effectivement le petit plus de cette appli qui fait son petit bonhomme de chemin, qui est sorti il y a un peu plus de 2 ans. Il y a les analyses croisées et les performances des chevaux, et puis les alertes personnalisées que vous pouvez effectivement activer. Alors, le blog de la trotteuse, comme j'ai juste évoqué, voilà, donc pourquoi un blog sur la trotteuse? Vous savez, les clients, c'est de l'additionnel. On va chercher tel client, tel jeune, et les filles. Donc, il y a énormément de blogs qui ont fleuri partout. Nous, on a fait un blog qui se rapproche toujours de l'univers du cheval, bien sûr, hein, avec des petites rubriques, belle au trot, à piquer au driver, la bonne crème d'hiver pour ne pas avoir le lèvre gercé, enfin voilà. On fait des petites choses comme ça, mais au-delà du côté anecdotique, ça nous permet de mettre en place des nouveaux partenaires, des partenaires filles. Voilà, donc ça nous ouvre encore une nouvelle porte. Alors, autre porte qu'on ouvre, parce qu'effectivement, comme on le dit, on est à 360, on a notre mascotte au trot en France. Notre mascotte, donc, c'est un garçon qui s'appelle Robert Dutrot. Vous avez des petites figurines dans vos petits sacs. Là, ils sont arrivés ce matin et on est assez fiers. Maintenant, Robert existe en 3D. Robert Dutrot, donc c'est notre mascotte. Et puis, il a un petit cheval qui s'appelle Tocard du Val-des-Bois. Et donc, on a fait naître ces deux mascottes il y a un peu plus de 2 ans maintenant. Et donc, ils vivent toute l'année à travers l'humour, à travers l'affectif. Même chose, pourquoi on développe des mascottes? On développe des mascottes voilà, pour créer du lien, du sens, de l'affectif à notre univers. Et on a bien sûr décliné toute une gamme autour de Robert et de Tocard. Bon, bien sûr, voilà, du merchandising, mais c'est surtout l'univers de l'affect et de la convivialité qu'on essaie de développer à travers ce produit mascotte. Alors, les boutiques dont je parlais, bien sûr, on a des lignes plus traditionnelles, mais on essaie toujours de les faire un petit peu hype et un petit peu modeuses, avec des partenariats. La galerie de Robert. Donc, Robert, il lui arrive toujours des aventures depuis 2 ans, et c'est pas fini. Alors, d'autres outils de fidélisation sur le net, le Club des Trotteurs qu'on est en train de développer. On va développer des nouveaux produits à la rentrée où on pourra vivre des expériences inédites dans l'univers du trot. Et puis, bien sûr, la traditionnelle carte de fidélité. La newsletter, donc ça c'est une newsletter hebdomadaire qui renseigne sur les courses. Et puis la Web TV. Alors pourquoi la Web TV? Parce qu'aujourd'hui, on ne peut pas faire de promotion sans images. Genre, le papier, c'est bien, mais l'image, c'est aujourd'hui indispensable. Voilà, c'est une Web TV. On a la chance à Vincennes d'avoir une unité de production intégrée. Donc, on fait beaucoup de sujets. On délègue aussi quelquefois. Voilà, donc on a 630 vidéos mises en ligne. Ça permet de valoriser nos opérations, les partenaires. Enfin, voilà, c'est une vitrine. Elle est multiple. Elle est donc sur le portail du trot. C'est la Web TV qui s'appelle Sulky TV. Voilà, alors tout ça pour faire quoi? Alors, ce n'est pas uniquement pour se faire plaisir, c'est avant tout et surtout pour développer notre base client. Cyril Giraudin en parlait ce matin. On ne connaît pas nos clients encore, on ne les connaît pas bien. On a une petite base avec la carte de fidélité, mais il faut qu'on la développe. Donc, on collecte à chaque fois des adresses à travers nos applis sur Facebook, à travers les jeux concours, à travers les réseaux sociaux, à travers les blogs, à travers les newsletters, à travers le buzz qu'on peut faire. Voilà, pour pouvoir reparler à ces gens et leur reparler de notre actualité. On fait bien sûr de la campagne de pub sur Internet, qui est quand même beaucoup moins cher que sur les médias traditionnels. Voilà, notamment sur le produit course-spectacle. On fait des habillages homepage. On va sur des sites de sortie à Paris très visités, type CityVox, et on achète des petits pavés et on leur propose de découvrir les courses hippiques. Voilà. Donc, beaucoup d'embasement aussi sur les sites. On a beaucoup de tablettes et les gens, donc on propose aux gens effectivement de pouvoir leur reparler, de leur offrir une prochaine invitation. Et donc, ça nous permet de collecter leurs informations. Et tout ça dans la finalité de pouvoir donc augmenter nos clients. Et voilà, ça je l'ai déjà dit, qu'effectivement, ça coûte beaucoup, beaucoup moins cher d'aller recruter un client sur Internet aujourd'hui que sur les médias traditionnels. Et puis, on s'amuse aussi, parce que ça participe à la réputation et à l'image. On fait aussi quelques opérations de buzz. La première qu'on a faite, c'est une opération crottin de champion. On avait offert du crottin dans les différentes rédactions et aux Parisiens. Et donc, on avait tourné des petites vidéos et ça avait super bien buzzé. Voilà, ça c'était notre coup de maître. Après, autre buzz dans d'autres domaines. On fait de la réalité augmentée à travers des petits jeux facial tracking, c'est-à-dire je me mets devant mon ordinateur, et puis je peux faire une petite course. J'ai un chronomètre, voilà, et je m'amuse, je fais mumuse. Comme ça, je découvre un peu Vincennes. Et puis la prochaine opération qu'on va mener, ça va être pour le 28 juin, c'est l'opération Fancam le Trot. Ça, c'est une expérience sociale interactive. Très concrètement, je viens le 28 juin à Vincennes, je pourrai dès le lendemain me retrouver donc sur Internet. Et voilà, je pourrais me taguer, je pourrais me reconnaître. Parallèlement, on va monter aussi un jeu avec les jockeys qui vont être cachés dans les tribunes pour pouvoir gagner un iPad. Voilà. Et une place de sulky pour participer à une vraie course. Alors, on m'avait demandé de répondre à cette question. Le cheval attire-t-il toujours autant le public sur les hippodromes? Moi, je réponds un gros oui. parce qu'on a un bon produit. Alors on a un bon produit, après il faut le relooker, il faut se donner les moyens, enfin voilà, ça passe par beaucoup de choses, mais voilà, c'est ce que je dis, on a vraiment l'originalité des sites, c'est à nous de réinventer le produit. Hein, on a la beauté du spectacle de l'animal, on a une ambiance, voilà, et nous au trot, c'est notre force, c'est la convivialité, c'est l'ambiance. Je crois qu'il faut réellement qu'on s'assume et qu'on aille vraiment sur ce territoire. On a des grands prix, et effectivement, il faut les conserver. C'est un spectacle de plein air, c'est interactif, il y a l'émotion des lignes droites, on a la formidable émotion des paris hippiques. Voilà, tout ça fait qu'on a un grand avenir. Merci.
Merci Isabelle. Une petite constatation pour ceux qui étaient à la conférence mondiale d'il y a 2 ans, c'est qu'Isabelle n'a pas mis en avant, c'est que le cheval français, la fédération des courses en France au trot, qui avait pour nom le cheval français jusqu'il y a 2 ans, effectivement a changé son nom et sa marque, puisque vous avez vu la fin du document qui a été signé Le Trot, et qui est beaucoup plus court et qui est beaucoup plus effectivement évocateur pour le grand public de s'appeler Le Trot que de s'appeler le cheval français, qui était vraiment quelque chose d'assez subliminal. Donc il y a aussi dans les efforts de communication effectivement ce glissement de la marque, et qui aujourd'hui effectivement le cheval français, ça n'existe plus, et la communication se fait autour de Le Trot. Voilà, je tenais à le préciser. Nous allons passer maintenant au témoignage de Patrick Davidson et de l'exemple d'un hippodrome qui était, entre guillemets, mourant, ou en tout cas mal en point il y a quelques années, l'hippodrome de Volvega aux Pays-Bas. Il va nous donner son témoignage et la situation actuelle et les perspectives à venir.
Good morning, everybody. I think we can all rise. Levez-vous. Please rise. Please rise. Qui était déjà là dans le monde du trot il y a 5 ans? Who was already involved or interested in trotting 5 years ago? Please raise your hand. Who was already involved 10 years ago? Who was not involved 10 years ago, you can sit. But who was involved, stay. 15 years ago, 15 ans. 20 years, Hugo, 20. 20. Who was involved 30 years ago? This is our key problem. I have only one problem from my youth. My father was a horse owner. So for me, nothing was better than to go to the races. I'm the second person on the left. Et maintenant, l'histoire se répète. History repeats. Because when I'm on holiday, and it's always in France, I take my son to Grenade-sur-Garonne, or Hyères, or Salon de Provence. But there are not so many people who have a father who is a racehorse owner. So this is the fundamentalistic part of our sport. And in Holland, only the fundamentalistic part has survived. Welcome. Let me tell you a bit about how we try to make a turnaround in Dutch trotting. 3 years ago, Dutch trotting was down the drain. In the first quarter, how many races do you think we organized in the first quarter of 2010? Combien de courses on a organisé le premier trimestre en 2010? Who knows? Give me a number. 0. L'hippodrome de Volvega, Wolvega racetrack, was broken down, faillite, bankrupt. The other racetrack was planning a renovation, and the second and the third and the fourth racetrack, they were summer tracks. So that was a big disaster. So it meant that everybody was really angry because we were about to lose our sport. And then what happened? A couple of people got angry and they defined their purpose. And the purpose is to make trotting available as a top sport, as a professional sport. So our mission is to enable great horsemen to achieve their goals as a top sport. So not like recreation, but as a top sport. And I will tell you a bit on how we did that. Afterwards, you can always contact me and I can send you the presentation because there's much more in it than for 10-15 minutes and I don't want Francois to get angry with me. And if you have a question, you can raise it during the presentation, no problem. Since we have people from Australia, the States and Canada, where are we in Holland? Holland is very, very small. So here is Europe and this is Holland. So it's really small. But 11 racetracks. 4 professional and 7 recreative, as we call it. This one I will skip. If you remember nothing of the presentation, then please keep in mind my key messages. The world is really changing, so we have to adapt to what is called the new normal. I'm very impressed by the presentation of Isabel. Why? Because she's doing things that did not even exist 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So even if you have a winning system in place, like the French, you have to continuously innovate yourself. A lot of the things from Isabel will apply to the golden rule of marketing. Does anybody know what the golden rule of marketing is? 50% of your marketing spend you throw away. The difficult part is you don't know which part. So you have to keep on doing the effort, keep on innovating. The only way is up, and I think that's my key message to you. What is good today, it may be sufficient tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow you're gone. What I think was very interesting this morning was the presentations from the early speakers, because you were all explaining the extra effort that you're doing. And you know what word I heard, which word I also heard a lot of times? It's all for free. So customers want more, they ask more from you, and they want to pay less. Welcome to the new normal. What is very important, and that's a key message I want to give to all of you, people only want to be associated with winners. So, how do we get people to the racetrack? That's if they have the feeling it can be a good day. So, I can be a great ambassador for my sport. I can get people to the racetrack. Sometimes they come back for a second time. But it should only be if they have a great experience. You don't want them to feel like we're a bunch of losers. So if you do not have a good product itself, then we're gone. So focus on the product that you're offering. I also say there's no one best way. I think the French come close, but also they will have their challenges. I will show you what I call the business model canvas, which is a strategy model, how we apply that in the Netherlands. I will do that in 1 minute. The fourth point, if people compliment us with the success of the Wolvenga turnaround, I mean, the track was bankrupt. We now have 35 race days. The average prize money was 700 euro. It's now 1,500 euro. And 17 race days a year, the first prize is 3,000 euro. Why? Purpose, hard work, and a bit of luck. If, for example, there was not a strategy put in place by le Conseil Général du Cheval Français, and if there would not have been a person like Agile Cassard and Jean-Pierre Kratzer, who have really paved the way for small countries like the Netherlands, I would not have been here. I would have watched this Congress via YouTube. And you need to invest first. So we had a person who bought the track, Victoria Park, 2 persons, for 3.5 million euro. They renovated the track for 3 million. We say in 2015 we want to have break even. And in between, we try to build up our sport. And how? By organizing races that you don't want to miss. So I'll show you what our proposition is. Okay, this is an important slide. There are 3 slides important. So this one is important, this one is important, and afterwards, this is difficult to read, this is also important. This is the business model canvas. This is our strategy. But we'll go first here. Why do we exist? Horse racing is there to enable breeding. Pour faire la sélection. To have the best horse bred. To sponsor that, you have betting. What struck me this morning in one of the questions, in the DNA of trotting, horse racing, Paris Mutuel betting, so not fixed odds betting. Paris Mutuel is the DNA of our sport. So if people talk about innovations like fixed odds betting, I never understand that. It's very important to understand what is the DNA of your business model. And for us, we organize events that you don't want to miss out on. 3.5 years ago, we had a race at Wolvenga Racetrack. 8 horses in the program, 4 were scratched because there was some kind of epidemic. 2 horses made a gallop, 2 horses were in the last turn, 1 galloped, and 1 horse, Icon, he won because he was the only one to finish. And then we said that we never want to do. So we say every race matters. We organize events that you don't want to miss. And that's very important. If I watch Equidia, I can watch a race at Pontchâteau, which I like, because in France, every race is a battle. It's made for selection. I also love Swedish racing a lot. But the racing itself in Sweden, I don't watch it that often. Because it's often spets or slut. You take the lead, you block the race, and it's gone. So it's very important to think what is the product you offer. At Wolvenga, before we relaunched it, we had races of 8 horses. So it was the champion, Langeweg. It was the Basier of Holland. He took the lead, he blocks the race. It's not interesting. And now it's World War III on the track. Every time. 16 horses battle for €6,000. And that's important. And that's something you don't want to miss out on. And then we say, can you get those people to the racetrack? Yeah, you can. You can even invite companies. But you have to think of your business model. And I will explain our business model a bit later on. What is important is that you set your goals very high. Because if you don't stretch yourself, what will happen? Automatically, you will fall back. And in the new normal, everything has to go better. And people want to pay less for it. So it's a double challenge. We said in 2010 we want a partnership with France. Why? Because it's the only system which is working for the moment, in our opinion. And we aimed for having premium races. Premium races, which is now the brand title of the French, for a race which is broadcasted in France. And let me show you what the change in thinking is. In Holland, on a race, what do you think is the average betting turnover? Anybody an idea? We're a small country, yeah? Give me a number. Total betting turnover for one race. €30,000 per race. Where can I sign? €5,000. So, 3 years ago, I was having a lot of discussions with people saying 20% is a good margin, but 20% of 5,000 is nothing. It's really nothing. It's close to nothing. So with the premium races, we obtain 3% out of a much bigger pool, 300,000, 400,000 euro. And that enables us not only to increase the prize money for premium races, but also to organize 12 months a year, 35 race days a year, bigger prize money. So now every race, and sometimes there are of course exceptions, every race matters. 2015, it was like 3 years ago, we said, okay, so we want our Champions League final in Wolvega in 2015. We thought we would never get it. So we made a bid book to the UAT, and surprise, surprise, they recognized our hard work and our first steps to success. And we are really, really happy that in 2 years, the best 4-year-old trotters of Europe, they race at Wolvega. And that has really a big impact. And 2015, break even. So that means for 5 years, we turn a loss. That is no problem, because we have a private investor who does it because his purpose is he wants to save his sport. So you have to invest first. Then let me tell you about our core values. The horse is our real star. So everything will always be done for the horse. So the track in Wolvega is the best track available. Why? The soil, the surface, the ground is a copy from Hamburg in Germany. And our trainers and drivers say that that's the best soil. The track itself is a copy of Solvalla. Exact copy, by the same architect. If we do premium meetings in wintertime, we ask our clients, where can we improve? And our clients are also the trainers and drivers. So, for example, this winter, we had to improve on our warm water capabilities to serve the horses better. So the horse is the real star. I explained also, we aim for the highest, and we keep on looking for innovation. Okay, this one is difficult to read, but you can download it at businessmodelgeneration.com/canvas. And I would like to invite you all for your organization, whether it's a federation, a TV channel, a racetrack, to fill this out. Let's start over there in the middle, value propositions. That's the most important part. Like what Isabel said, what do you promise your customers? What makes it so unique? Like Comte de Bellac said, people can go to Française du Jeu to do some betting, but why would they go for horse betting? So for us, we organize events you don't want to miss out on. I will keep repeating it. So what we do, we have our motto, be good and tell it. So everywhere when we are interviewed on television, we keep on repeating it. Journalists often want to touch upon the negative side. It was much better 30, 40 years ago. And I always say, well, the possibilities are infinite. We can really build a new future for our sport. Okay, how do we do it? We say every race matters. So that means the 2013 season will end in 2 weeks. Then we've had 35 meetings in a row. We start September 1st, we end the end of June. And this season, we have no cancelled meetings. So every race matters. That means that, for example, the guy who's doing the track maintenance, in December, 7th December, there was a race meeting in Mocancy, and I think Monsieur Desmontil was also there, and the track was really, really bad. It was almost cancelled at Mocancy. We had the same situation, but we had one guy who says every race matters. So he had to drive the tractor for a week, 24 hours a day with his team. Because we do not want to have the situation that we cancel races for a track which is not okay. So what you should do, make sure that those mottos are translated into responsibilities for people. And also our value proposition, we have the best horses and the best drivers. That you can get with us. We have almost all the classic races. We have the best French horses with Tour Européen. We have the Prix de Géant, which is one of our key races, back on Equidia early November. And if you look at the channels, how do we serve our customers? Online, those things did not even exist 5 years ago. I'll tell a bit more about that later. And what is important is key partners. So I'll repeat what I said. Yes, we thank the French, because without the partnership with the French, we would have had no racing. But also our partnership with the Belgians, because we have never made television programs before. And then the French said, can you make an Equidia broadcast in 3 months? And yes, we said, but we didn't know how. And then Agile helped us out, and the same team covering the Mons, so the Belgian races on Equidia, is also covering our races. So collaboration is really, really important. Let's go to the media. The world is changing so fast that you need your customers to find you. What I think is very interesting is if you look at this, these are things which your customer requires. For example, we only launched our YouTube video channel in September, which is 9 months ago. We have a promise that within 1 hour of the race, people can watch the race. So it's for an owner, a breeder, but also for a better. But now, customers are so used to getting it, so they say, okay, it's already been 40 minutes, why is the race not online? So my definition of a customer before was somebody who likes what you do and he pays for it. But with YouTube, you only have costs. So you have to do something for which the benefit may be indirect. I'll show you a bit about it later. So right now, what do? We have 1,000 people following us on Twitter, but like Isabel said, yeah, it's a particular type. We have succeeded, Isabel, in getting persons doing the tweets. So it's either information from the stables, either announcing an event. I think that's good. Facebook, about 1,400 people following us on Facebook. That's really, really important. And Omroep Friesland, which is a regional TV channel, they now broadcast races live. And I think that was very interesting in what Jeff said in the morning, and also what John said, going from broadcasting to narrowcasting. We are working in a niche market, and you should have a low threshold channel to serve your customers. Okay, so you got a website. What else? I mean, this is not interesting for somebody visiting a website. If I show this to my wife, then she says, okay, what should I do? And I love racing. I said, okay, you can check out the Nettle Challenge, who's #1. You can watch the race videos. You can get the program. You can book for Ladies' Day. You can do anything. So you have to think what you want to do with this. One of the things that we have done since the reopening, I think in France you call it road car races. It's like a two-person sulky. So we have companies racing against each other. So the insurance industry, we invite them. And the good thing is they have a great day. They can bet on their colleagues. They can bet on the whole evening. And by the way, they pay the prize money for all races that night. It's really great. So they are some kind of new ambassadors for us. And then sometimes things come together. So for example, what we continuously do is look at successful companies. For example, Google is a company which is based on complete new principles. One of the principles of Google is to really try to understand your customer, to go into the customer. Now, I can be very helpful because I'm an owner, I'm a breeder, I'm a punter, so I can really think what our clients want. But then, my job is a strategy consultant. And Google has used a strategy which is difficult for us to use, which is free. You give things for free, but how can you earn money on it? So we're looking to develop a strategy which we would call freemium. You start with a basic offering which is free, and for a premium you have to pay. And this is where things come together. To enable French bettors, which are very, very, very important clients for us, because between December and April, they watch our races, they bet on our races, and thereby they finance our races and our whole industry of 2,500 people. We launched a YouTube channel. So a French bettor pour faire le papier, to study the race, he can watch his reference race now. Interesting thing what Eric Brion said. Eric, si j'étais bien compris, 100 000 euros, 100 000 views par mois, hein? Equidevideo.fr. 220,000 per month, okay. Which is a low number for France, if I compare it to us. You know why? We have 40 races every month. That's watched 500, 600 times. So even in a small country of Holland, with only the fundamentalists left, we have 20, 25,000 videos watched in Holland. That's 10% of your market size. But you know the big thing? With us, they don't pay. So Eric, in 2 years, a Kidia Video point of view, it will still be successful, but it will be for free. Customers will not even pay for it, no longer. What is important, if a French bettor likes to bet on French drivers, because yeah, he knows the French drivers best, then get those French drivers to your track. And that's where things come together, because our audience, our owners, we all love to have Frank Nivard, Mathieu Abrivard, Jos Verbeek behind our horses. So that's where things come together. And then we'll end with this picture before you can ask questions. This is a big photo frame. We will send that on Monday to Mathieu Abrivard, who's now in hospital. And he succeeded to win 3 races with us. And the audience loved it. So on a Thursday night in April, and it was cold, there were, I think, 200-300 people outside watching races, and then Abrivard finishes first, and there were only young people who adore their hero, and they're applauding. Yeah, going back to my key message. Aim for the highest. Be very much aware that this is a business. You cannot earn money in this business. You have to do this for a purpose. And if you want to run it break even, you really have to invent yourself and reinvent yourself. Those were my key messages. Thank you for your attention.
Merci Patrick. Vous n'avez pas tout à fait tenu parole en dépassant vos temps qui vous étaient alloués. Donc vous avez été un mauvais élève, mais on vous en fera grâce. C'est le fait de parler à la fois français et à la fois anglais qui l'a fait certainement dépasser, Patrick. Je donne la parole à Toré Firon, donc directeur de l'hippodrome de Solvalla, qui va nous donner son expérience suédoise d'ouverture de son hippodrome à d'autres publics.
Thank you. How are you? Are you well? How are you? Okay, say it then. It's much better. Say it. My name is Tore Firan, and I am a Norwegian working in Sweden. It is not possible. And I shall give you a story about that later. First of all, I like to listen to the 2 speakers now, because they have one very special element. They are optimistic. And if you look in the horse industry, we are not so optimistic. One of the challenges is to keep up the optimism, although for the time being it's tough. When I go to the stable area or I go to the restaurants, people tell me how bad it is. And if you shall make a success and a success story, you cannot tell how bad it is. So the challenge is a cultural challenge too. And since I'm a Norwegian working in Sweden, I can tell you many hours about that. Because there's a big rivalry between Norway and Sweden due to the history. And Solvalla, where I work now, is our Vincennes. I shall give you some simple figures about Solvalla. We have 80 race days per year. The biggest event is Elitloppet. And Elitloppet we always have the last weekend of May, so we just had it. We had 50,000 spectators. The turnover for 3 days was 350 million Swedish crowns. That's a bit more than 40 million euros. And it was raining like hell. We had 17 hours of direct television in the biggest private television channel. So it's a big event, and for the last 4 years, Elitloppet has been the biggest summer event in Sweden. And I think it's an honor to work with that. The challenge for us is, of course, to keep up in the other days when it's not Elitloppet. The normal weekday for us is Wednesday. And when I walk on the stands. I meet people who have been at Solvalla since 1970, and they say, Tore, you should have been here before. Then we were 8,000 and 10,000 people here, and today we are 1,500. What shall you do with that? And I shall, of course, do something with it. And then I tell them, do you know how many who watched the television just now? Every Wednesday, about 40,000 follow the races at Solvalla. The interest is immense, tremendous. But you have to tell it, and you have to show it. The second part of it, as I have not heard anyone speak of here, is that we have two sorts of clients. It's the external clients, but also the internal clients, the breeders, the owners, all the people involved in the sport directly. And of course, what is bothering me is that we lose more and more new owners and new breeders. That's the real challenge. If we don't fix that, then we can talk about a sport really in decline. This is the most important. It's not a question about shall we televise the races or shall we not. Of course we shall televise the races. But we must make it good to be a horse owner and to be a horse breeder. This is the challenge. This is the political challenge. And I know all about it because I've been living in this business most of my life. Not as a professional, but I come from a horse breeding family. I'll give you some ideas what we try to do on the other days than we have the big events. Two things that cost nothing. Every race day, 5:30 o'clock in the afternoon, we have two journalists and two of the drivers on that day. They meet in a small restaurant where there is a seat place for 200. They speak freely. No television cameras, just in that room. We serve them coffee, we serve the people some small food, and of course the restaurant keeper, he has a happy hour for beer. And they stay there 15 minutes. And they give directly what they think about the races and the chances. And if you shall hear it, you have to go there. And more people come there now, so it's filled up. It costs nothing. And then the people can be very frankly spoken. They can tell what they mean. Because you don't have a camera that will kill you afterwards. You don't send it out. And they can say that, last race, I drove so badly, it was my fault. You don't say that in front of a camera. And you don't say that, this race number 4, I shall give you one advice. Put the bet on me. That idea costs nothing. And the second idea, which is what we have heard about, is how we meet the people coming to us. It costs nothing to have your organization on the toes. The Disney University talk about off stage and on stage. When there is a race day, we are on stage. That means all of us. And my work as the leader is to be the coach of that. I have never meetings on a Wednesday. I concentrate totally on the race day. The customers are coming, the internal and the external. My work is to lift it up and not to tell how bad it is. Cost nothing. Tell you experience now for the last 4 years. When I came to Solvalla, nobody knew what was the goal for this race day. How many people do we want? How many positive articles do we want? How much is the betting? None knew about it. We meet every Tuesday morning, my organization and with the entrepreneurs, and we have breakfast together every Tuesday from 9 to 10. We go through the week and we look on the last week. Now all the people involved, as we have been talking about here, have the same colors. We have no people sitting and say, I know nothing. and they know it. It has changed the atmosphere. Cost nothing. What else can we say about the situation in Sweden? I think Ulf and Hasse can tell most about the Swedish situation. It's not a crisis, but it's a challenging time. I hate the word crisis. I think it's a challenging time. It's something totally different. And we have to change. I had a professor when I studied who said that the problem of management of change is to change the management. And that is one of the key words. We must accept to change. And the change is, of course, now, as we have been told, the technological change has come, and it will go on. I shall give you two small figures. I've heard that Twitter doesn't work. It works very well. Every Wednesday, I have one Twitter king, we call him that. He has 3,000 followers on the race day. 3,000 follow him all the race day. On our website, eliteloppet.se, we had 27 original people talking to us on the Elitelopp day. And we got 27 addresses, 27 people who were interested. The new technology is an ocean of possibilities. It's not a challenge. It's the way of surviving. If I go to a metro, have you seen what people do when they come on the metro? They tick off the telephone and they start sending. There's where we must be. Of course, we shall be in the newspapers and things like that, but young people and people like me with gray hair, we do the same. We have to be where the customers are. That's our challenge. I promise not to talk too much about these problems we have. So I've experienced in Sweden that when you come with a new idea, and especially if you're a Norwegian, it takes some time to get it accepted. And I should give you an example at last with, it was a crazy idea, but we did it. I have a friend who is driving, he's a rally driver in Norway, and he said, can't we do some driving on your track? Can't we have a race on your track? Yeah, on the normal surface? No, on asphalt, as a real car racetrack. And I proposed it for my board, and can you think how they looked at me? It was a warmth, nice atmosphere. And of course the Swedes said, shall we send him back? And perhaps they should. But in the second meeting, when we presented the idea better, they accepted it, but on one condition. I had the responsibility. So the board, they left the room, and I was standing there. And we had to do a lot of work. And I shall give you now the timing. We raced on Sunday, finished at 7. At 7:15, we started digging, because we had to change the arena. And we built up on the inner track. And on Thursday, it was finished with asphalt. And can you imagine the board then? When they looked and saw that the surface was taken away, the curves were filled up with a lot of big sand, and they said, have you control? And I said, no, but I hope I have. And on Saturday, we had a big race, fantastic car race, 22,000 spectators, new people at Solvalla from another culture. And when they finished, we started taking it away. And the next Wednesday, we had races again. And when I came to the racetrack that morning, the trainers, they were coming, and we're doing like that. All of them. Fantastic interested. So it was a win-win. And they said, how does it work? And it worked out well. It was a nice business for us. And last weekend we had the same this year. And we had races yesterday. And it worked well. The management to change is to change the management. Shall we have a look on that last, so see how it works? Can we put on the video? I hope it works. Yeah, here is Solvalla, and you see it's very quick. Go and do it yourself. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, Toré. Comme quoi la collaboration norvégienne et suédoise est possible et que vous en êtes un excellent exemple. Et bravo. Nous allons terminer cette seconde table ronde par le témoignage de Christina qui va effectivement nous parler non plus de chevaux effectivement vapeur, mais du cheval et en général et de cet événement que constitue chaque année dans son pays une réunion, vraiment une grande messe autour du cheval en général et comment en Finlande effectivement le cheval est un vecteur de communication extrêmement important quels que soient les âges et les catégories de population. À vous, Christina.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, first I want to thank the organizing committee of the World Trotting Conference for this opportunity to share with you the story about the Coronation Trot of Finland. Being the president of Teeva Racetrack in Tampere, I had the privilege to be the part of the organizing group of the Coronation Trot 2011, which is the reason for me being here to present this story. Finland is a relatively small country. We only have 5 million people living there. Trotting races have over 700,000 spectators yearly at the tracks, which makes it the second biggest audience next just to ice hockey. In relation to the size of the country, gathering 50,000 people to the Coronation Trot 1/100th of the population of Finland, is a very impressive achievement. Despite the declining audience in everyday racing, the Coronation Trot shows new record numbers year after year. Figures thought to be unbeatable, just to be beaten again the next year. Finnhorse and the people of Finland have traveled a long way together. We have many reasons to be grateful to our horses. Horses have been cutting the forests and plowing the fields together with the first settlers. The Finn horses have played a major role during the war times when Finland has been fighting the independence. Today, the Finn horse is a versatile breed that can be used in all equestrian sports. Let us now take a short journey from the history of the trotting sport to the Coronation Trot today and enjoy the power of the Finn horse. So can we have the video, please?
In every sport, there are classical events to measure the best of the best. Super Bowl in America, or the Champions League in Europe, or, of course, the Olympic Games. The trotting sport, too, has its classical events all around the world. In the Meadowlands, New York, there is the Hambletonian Stakes, founded in 1926 to honor the great ancestor of all trotters, Hambletonian 10. In Europe, we have Prix d'Amérique in Paris, founded in 1920 to honor the American military aid in the First World War. And there is, of course, Solvalla's International Elitloppet in Stockholm, founded in 1952, originally a jubilee race of the Solvalla trotting track. Last but not least, there is also the Championships of the Finn Horse, the Coronation Trot of Finland, which was founded in 1924. Today, this happening is one of the greatest trotting events in the whole world, gathering over 50,000 spectators over 2 days to enjoy the show. But why do 50,000 Finns from all around the country gather together to see the best of the best cold-blooded trotters year after year? The main reason is the Finn Horse itself, our national breed. The Finn Horse has served the Finns throughout the centuries in war and peace. Our collective memory says that without the Finn Horse, there would be no such state as Finland as it is today. We love and respect our national horse, and by doing so, we also love the Coronation Trot. The Coronation Trot was founded in 1924 in Lahti, but the roots of the event are much deeper in history. It was as early as in 1884 when the Autonomic Senate of Finland founded the Great Stallion Stakes to include the Finnish horse breeding. The first prize was amazing, 1,000 gold marks. The first winner was called Lahja, in English, the gift, who trotted a kilometer time 1:49 and 8 in 3,207 meters. The world record in those days was 1:20 and 3 by the legendary mare Maud S. in the USA. Since 1924, the Coronation Trot has been a tradition in Finland. Only the Great Economic Depression in the 1930s and the Second World War stopped the tradition for some years. One secret of the popularity is perhaps that the Coronation Trot events are always arranged at different tracks all around Finland. In 1948, the mares got their own division, the Trotting Queen competition. Up till then, the mares had competed together with the stallions. There are thousands of stories and hundreds of heroes around the Coronation Trot, and there are several books to tell their stories. In 1981, the leading Finnish horse magazine, Hevosurheilu, published the history of the Coronation Trot. This was updated in 2006. One of the greatest legends, Kaarlo Partanen, the master of the Trotting Kings, has also his own book by Hevosurheilu. He won the Trojan King title 9 times, 4 of them with Eero Lohko and 5 times with Viete. But who is the king above all the kings and queens? He is Pentti Savolainen, here in the winner's circle at Joensuu Trotting Track in 1984. He has just won both titles with his stallion Vetseli and Mare Mekbolina. He was the breeder, owner, trainer, and driver of both horses, which is a unique achievement. He was also the breeder of Piete, so altogether his horses have won 10 Trotting King and 3 Trotting Queen titles. How is it possible that there is such a massive trotting event in a relatively small country like Finland? An event which gathers huge crowds and which the presidents of Finland visit regularly. The long tradition of amazing horse breeding explains a lot, but perhaps not everything. The Coronation Trot is one of the hardest horse races in the world, and probably the hardest in the trotting world. The horses race 3 times in 2 days, 6,809 meters altogether. The achieved race times are summed, and the winner is the horse with the best overall time in all 3 races. This leaves a lot of space for driving strategies, as the total winner can be a horse that has not won any of the races. The last and the hardest race, over 3,100 meters, is crucial, and the final stretch has shown many changes in the result list when some horses fatigue, some make breaks, and some make heroic final spurts. It is a small victory to even compete in the Coronation Trot. The race is open only for stallions and mares, except for public breeding. The horses are inspected by a breeding committee, and they have to fulfill certain criteria regarding performance, conformation, and health. Each year, the competitors of the race are selected by a special board. The horses are prepared for the race for many years. Long hours are spent when building up a strength and condition in different ways. This is not a race for youngsters. The horses need experience and a lot of stamina to even finish the race. Winning the Coronation Trot is a dream come true for all horse people in Finland. The Coronation Trot has been developed systematically with modern marketing means since the 1990s. To organize the track, the central organization Hitpost and the betting company Finbus cooperate closely around the year to serve people with the best trotting can offer. Nowadays, it's much more than just a trotting competition. It is a festival for 3 days and nights, one of the biggest summer happenings in Finland. The Coronation Trot today is the link between the urban and the agricultural Finland, the link between the old and the young. In this happening, there are no bosses or workers. It's the contact place for everyone. At the racetrack, there is a large market area with more than 100 exhibitors that sell not only trotting equipment, but also things you've never imagined you would need. Not only the horses need conditioned stamina, but also the audience. The weekend begins with several pre-race parties on Friday night. The big party is the Saturday night after the races, and it can gather up to 10,000 people to listen to famous artists, naturally finished, and to celebrate all night long. In spite of all hustle and bustle, it all comes back to the thin horse itself. The absolute climax of the weekend is the start of the final race of 3,100 meters. The excitement is touchable when the horses collect behind the gate. The battle of seconds is about to begin, and once again, some dreams come true.
So thank you for your interest.
Merci Christina, et très longue vie au trotteur finnois. Il est 13h05, nous avons encore quelques petites minutes pour des questions et des réponses de nos intervenants. Donc vous avez la parole et vous pouvez effectivement demander des précisions et intervenir auprès de quatre. Est-ce que vous avez des questions? Il y a une question d'un observateur anglais, je pense.
Thank you. Just a question for Patrick. Patrick, obviously congratulations on what you've done there at that racetrack. Without the private investor, would it have been possible?
Impossible. Yeah. If
And
there would not have been one man and his partner who had a purpose, like saving their sport, we would not have been here now.
Voilà une question avec une réponse claire. Est-ce que vous avez d'autres questions à poser à Isabelle, à poser à Toré? Monsieur Roussel, d'Equidia. À Christina, donc. Christina, ça.
To Christina, just the date of the next coronation race, please. I want to go now.
This year's coronation trot is in Kuopio, which is last weekend of July. So welcome.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Je pense que Emmanuel aura le feu vert d'Éric Brion pour nous ramener aux téléspectateurs d'Equidia un magnifique reportage sur cette journée formidable.
J'irai avec lui.
Voilà, et ils iront ensemble. Autre question? Vous avez trop faim, hein? Donc, si vous n'avez plus de questions, ça veut dire que nos intervenants ont été clairs. Rendez-vous demain matin, 9h30, pour parler non plus communication et hippodrome, mais pour parler élevage et parler santé et bien-être du cheval et parler de contrôle antidoping. Donc, des sujets beaucoup plus techniques, mais non moins intéressants. Bonne continuation, bons travaux cet après-midi et à demain.
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, François. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, François. Merci, mesdames, messieurs, pour vos interventions qui ont été très enrichissantes. Ça va être de très bons exemples. Les commissions débuteront à 14h30, comme les jours passés. Et je vous rappelle, ce soir, le départ impératif, c'est à 6h30. Nous avons aujourd'hui une grève des trains en France. C'est une fois par mois, donc on a l'habitude. Et donc, nous aurons sûrement beaucoup de trafic pour aller ce soir au château de Grosbois. Donc, il est impératif que nous partions à 18h30 si nous voulons avoir le temps de à la fois visiter le musée du Trot, le château et d'avoir un dîner à un horaire raisonnable. Voilà, merci beaucoup et puis bon après-midi à tous. Merci encore.